experience, you're in the right place. If you're not, you're in the wrong place. But stay anyway, because I think you'll enjoy it. So again, welcome. Special thanks to Rhino Fit for putting this on. It's awesome to see a company that provides an awesome digital solution in the marketplace, also care about the education part. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to present today. Hopefully everyone will get a lot out of this. But again, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. We'll get started, maybe just a minute. And if anybody's late, then they'll miss out on the first part. So no matter what, tell them it was the best thing that you had ever heard, just so they have that feeling like they missed out on something, and maybe they won't be late next time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so we got my screen up there, and go right here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It's all about the experience. So this is my son, Adam. At this time, my son, Adam, was about 6 years old. And as a 6-year-old, I'm from Cleveland. I live in Los Angeles now. But it's always a treat to take the boys home to Cleveland. Both my kids think Cleveland is the most special place on earth because they go there. They get to go to sporting events. Grandma spoils the heck out of them. And it's paradise for my boys. So once a year, I try to do an individual boys trip with each of my sons to take them back to Cleveland as this special treat. So we were flying Southwest Airlines when I took my son on this trip. And we board the plane, and I'm talking to the flight attendant, and I mentioned, I'm taking him back to Cleveland. It's his birthday. It's a father-son trip. And they said, wow, that's fantastic. Thanks for letting us know. So we get onto the flight, and my son says, hey, Dad, can I go see the cockpit? And I don't know if it was responsible parenting or not, but I encouraged him to do so and said, yeah, just go up and ask. And he's like, you're not coming with me? I said, no, you're a big boy. You're 6. You can handle this. So he goes up to the cockpit, and the next thing you know, I see him disappear into the cockpit. And I was kind of wondering what was going on, but out of nowhere, I hear over the loudspeaker on the plane, Mr. Stevenson, would you please report to the cockpit? And it was my son. So the pilots were letting him play on the equipment. Again, I don't know if that's a good idea to let a child play on an airplane's equipment, but they did. And he was ecstatic. He got to use the loudspeaker. So I came up there, and the pilots were being really great with him. They gave him a pin with the wings on it, the stickers, the whole 9 yards, let him sit in the seat, take a picture. And I told him to enjoy the flight. So we get on this flight, and he's already had this incredible experience, especially for a young man. So it gets better. We're in our seats. We're halfway through the flight. Flight attendant gets on the loudspeaker and says, listen, everybody, we're going to be dimming the cabin lights. And what I need you to do is I need you to turn on your flight attendant call button. So imagine the plane. All of a sudden it's dark, but you see these rows of lights going from back to front. And she said, my son's name is Adam. She said, we have a very special passenger on this flight today, and his name is Adam, and it's Adam's birthday. So we are going to celebrate Adam's birthday today. I need everybody on the plane to sing him happy birthday. And Adam, when they finish that song, I want you to blow out all these candles. So when Adam blows, everybody turn your lights off. So imagine a plane completely booked, full of people, all singing happy birthday to my son. And then he blows, and he sees all the lights go out like they're candles. It was an absolutely incredible experience for this young man. Now, you can take any airline, and really, ultimately, what an airline does is it takes you from A to B. It's a method to travel. So they all do the same thing for the most part. But what Southwest did, especially, and they do it on a regular basis, but especially in this incident, is they went out of their way to create this memorable experience. And from then on, anytime we travel as a family, the first question my son asks is, are we taking Southwest? And if we're not, he's utterly disappointed. Now, on a side note, I think Delta does a great job and Southwest does a great job, and I travel a ton. So those are my 2 airlines that I'm really loyal to for the service and the experience that they create. And this event helped me cement my loyalty to Southwest. I will tell you, ironically, about a month afterwards, we went to Australia. I was presenting at an event there, and he said, are we taking Southwest? And I was like, that's not exactly how Southwest works. You physically, literally cannot take it, to Australia. But again, they built loyalty in my son. They built loyalty to me, not by flying us from A to B, but by creating an experience. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Basically, it's all about the experience. So obviously, we're in the health and fitness industry. And what I want you to think about is that same Southwest mentality. I mean, I know that we all do wonderful jobs as fitness professionals and deliver excellent training and classes and studio and gym experiences. But ultimately, at its fundamental roots, we all do the same thing. We all have treadmills and dumbbells, or a personal trainer have classes. And again, I'm sure you guys do it better than most as professionals, but we still have to find ways to differentiate our facilities. And the way you do that is by creating an absolutely memorable experience, something like what that happened on Southwest that people will just never forget. So that's what we're going to talk about. So in the next 40 to 45 minutes or so, I'll tell you a little bit about myself briefly so you understand where I'm coming from. We'll look at the evolution of customer experience, so you'll see how it got to this era where experience matters the most. We'll examine brands known for a world-class customer experience. We'll discuss 3 keys that are necessary for creating this experience in your facility and in your business, and we'll share tangible things throughout the way. So everything I share with you will come from practical experience at clubs that I've owned and operated or consulted with that we've used that really do work. So you're going to get some very tangible things throughout this presentation. Sometimes I know you hear educational sessions, and I hear these as well, where somebody might be fairly motivational or inspirational. They get you fired up, but then you leave going, I don't have any, action items. So hopefully this is chock full of action items that you can implement immediately that will make a difference. So really quickly about me, I started over 20 years ago doing personal training and group exercise. So I was in the trenches working one-on-one with clients, working in groups, sort of that frontline employee. Some of you may be doing that now or have done that in the past as well. But I think having that experience really well rounds my overall experience in our industry. After doing that for a while and working for some private gyms and some corporate facilities and some commercial clubs, I opened up a personal training studio. This was, this was almost 20 years ago now. Simple model, 2,000 square feet, 6 staff members. We sold 10 and 20 packs of sessions. That was it. That was the complexity of our business model. And again, this was a long time ago. The reason I had such a small footprint was not because I was being strategic. It was because literally that was all I could afford. That was all the investment capital that I was able to raise at the time. But we ran this club for almost 7 years really successfully. Now, this is sort of where I unintentionally realized how important experience was. Because again, we were just trainers. And I thought we were all very good trainers. But we decided we got to figure out how to be different. So what if we made sure we always came early and stayed late and we gave more than expected? So if you bought a 20 pack of sessions from us, it wasn't, okay, we'll see you Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30. It was, we will see you Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30. And here's what you're going to do here at the facility on your own Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And here's a nutritional plan. And how else can we support you? And we would hold small social events and fun events and charity events, just going out of our way to create a great experience. Now, at that time, we didn't really define that as our culture. You attract similar people. And that was sort of my MO. And the people that were attracted and ended up working there kind of all felt the same way. So we really were successful based on experience. And I joke, and it's only half a joke, but at that time, I don't know that I had the business acumen to run a successful fitness business. We just survived on being great to people. So it's kind of reverse engineering. And then throughout my years, I developed sort of the business acumen part, and we had some success. From there, we went on to own and operate for over 10 years successfully a full service health club. It was boutique size. It was just under 10,000 square feet. And it had all the things. It had childcare, locker room, showers, small group training, personal training, group exercise classes, general membership. The only thing it didn't have was a pool, and it did not have any sport courts, but basically a full service facility. And again, coming from that small studio where we sort of it was on purpose. It wasn't accidentally, but we just kind of organically created a culture of service. When you go from 60 members to 60, all of a sudden you've got to formalize it. So it became our mission to deliver the best experience in fitness. And in communicating to the staff, we always said, hey, listen, they can get a treadmill anywhere. They can get a lower price other places. They can get classes anywhere. They can get training anywhere. But what we're going to do is figure out a way to create an experience that they simply desire and cannot get at any other facility. Now, I'm proud to say, so our internal goal was to provide the best experience in fitness, and we were able to accomplish that. So we were really pumped about that. And when I say we tangibly accomplished it, we'll talk a little bit later about Net Promoter Score. But for those that don't know, it's a survey you get that on a scale from 0 to 10, it's one question. How likely are you to refer somebody to this business? Okay, that's the one simple question. There's a little area for comments if you care to add a comment, but you use that to calculate a score. Now, the first ever time, and sometimes you'll go to a hotel and you'll get that survey, or rent a car. Different experiences will give you that survey. So you probably come across it. And when you hear me say it, you're probably like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. But they had never done it for the fitness industry. And back in 2014, IHRSA, combined with, which is the biggest nonprofit trade association in the fitness industry, partnered with a company called TRP, which is a software company. And they did the first ever Net Promoter Score for the industry. So they did it for the UK first. And in all of the UK, I think the average score was 22. Then they did it for all of North America, and the average score was 40. Our score at the time was 77. So literally, we were doing something right, but it quantified the fact that our members are really happy, likely to refer. Customer satisfaction is huge. And when you look at any industry, generally the companies that have the highest net promoter score are the most successful in that space. So it's a great indicator of success. So we were so proud that we did a good job and we created this great experience, and now it was quantified. And from there on out, we always had a score that was mid to high 80s and even sometimes low 90s. So far above the industry average. And it was because we had a dedication to member experience and making sure that it was a great one at all times. I mentioned IHRSA. I'm on the board of directors. IHRSA's mission statement, again, as the largest nonprofit association in the health and fitness industry, is to protect, promote, and grow the industry. So I'm very proud to be a part of this board. We're doing a lot of advocacy efforts right now and trying to get more relief, financial relief for health and fitness, because as you know, our industry took an absolute beating during this pandemic. So that's just part of what we're doing to raise exercise awareness and the importance in the general public, to make sure exercise and facilities are viewed as essential. So a lot of things we're doing under that umbrella. Currently, one of our projects as a consultant that we're working on is a company called Be Military Fit with Bear Grylls. It's the largest outdoor fitness organized brand in the UK. They've recently switched to a franchise model, and they're looking for a presence in the US. So they reached out to us to help them sort of build that brand presence and sort of modify the brand for the US. So that's one of the big projects we're working on right now. And then finally, I'm fortunate to be an international presenter and consultant. Our consulting group is the Empower Group. And basically we do everything from staff training to individual coaching to strategic planning to full-on facility management. We, in partnership with Active Wellness, have 63 locations between the US and Canada where we actually run facilities for people. But it's awesome. And the presenting part's funny. Sometimes people ask, is it hard to present? And I say, not really, because all I do is share some things that have worked really well throughout the years. And I also share things that didn't work. So I'll save you some time and effort by saying, yeah, this might sound like a good idea. We tried it and it was horrible. Or here's why I was terrible at this and here's how I improved. So it's just sharing some successes and learning through failures, and then some of the best practices that have worked throughout the years. And then finally, in the last piece of background, this was me. I did stunts for the kids show Power Rangers for about 15 years. And I was a competitive martial artist through school, moved to Los Angeles from Ohio after college. And I was still kind of working out with some martial artists. Got a call one day. They said, hey, you want to audition for a show? And I'm like, I have no idea how to audition. They're like, show up, throw some kicks and punches, and hopefully you're good enough to get on the show. So I did. Ended up doing stunts. We did a year-long stadium tour. So those live shows that come to the arenas, that's what we did. And then throughout 15 years, did more of that. Make-A-Wish Foundation, hospital visits, all kinds of stuff. It was a wonderful experience. And in retrospect, looking back, I think that is what prompted my interest in health and fitness, was when your uniform is shiny, skin-tight red spandex, you sure better be in shape. So I think that motivated me to get really into health and fitness, and then, traded those for Lululemon, started teaching group exercise training, and the rest is history. So again, I share that background just so you understand where I'm coming from with my information. So really quickly, it's important to understand the evolution of customer experience. So back in the 1900s to 1960s, you didn't have to have a good experience. You just had to be able to make something because people didn't have the resources. So if you could put out a product or service, you win. People had to get it from you, right? I mean, if you think of the Model T Ford, it was a terrible experience. No windshield, no air conditioning, no radio. It took two people to start. Didn't work half the time, but man, Ford could make it. They were the only ones. You had to buy it. Well, then more people were started to be able to make things. And then it became more about the age of distribution. And this was, you can see the dates right there when this happened. But this was like Walmart and Toyota. Now, if you could create a distribution chain to get a product or service to the marketplace, then you dominated because you could do it for a lower price. But then this thing was invented called the internet. And with the internet, obviously knowledge was now power. But in the early stages, it was about us. It was what we put on the internet. The internet was basically a brochure. So we could say, look, here's how great we are. Come visit us. Come sign up. But that shifted, even though it says today. Now, in this moment, as you guys know, it's the age of the customer. You no longer have the ability to tell people you're great. Your customers do. They tell people if you're great. They tell people if you stink. They know just as much about your product, services, pricing from stuff they hear from other people through social media and those type of mediums, that they know everything. So it's no longer like, trust us, we're great. They're like, no, I already told, because my friend went there, posted on Facebook, they had a terrible experience. or vice versa. They posted on Instagram that they had a wonderful experience and how well you treated them and how you made them feel. So the power is in the customer's hands. And whether that's Yelp, TripAdvisor, Facebook reviews, simple posts on social media, they are controlling the narrative. So you absolutely have to deliver a product and service that's awesome and that creates a great experience in that delivery, or you're going to be lost. And that's why experience is so important. So a couple of facts about customer experience. When you take the time to focus on maximizing the experience, the whole customer journey, which we'll talk about, customer satisfaction goes up 20%. So focus on creating a great experience, you're going to increase customer satisfaction. I like this one, interesting statistic, but consumers are willing to spend 70% more with a company that provides what they feel to be a great experience. If this were live, I would ask you guys to participate, but when I generally ask a live audience, I say, think about in your life where you're willing to spend 70% more on something, right? And oftentimes people will say Lululemon, because not that the quality might not be a little better than the same workout pants you can get at Target, but you like the Lulu experience, the energy in the store. You like seeing that logo on you. For me, it's kind of funny, but it's a haircut. I don't have a really complicated haircut, but I could go to one of those $10 barbers or sports clips, but I like going to my barber shop, even though it's more expensive, because it's my one day a month where they hand me a beer and they all talk trash and there's sports on it. It's probably the most manly I ever feel is sitting in that barber shop. So I'm willing to pay more because of that experience. But at the end of the day, it's just a haircut. And just anecdotally, I was speaking at an indoor rock climbing event and I posed this question. Rock climbers are an interesting breed. I love them. But you've got the dreadlocks, the long hair, the Birkenstocks, the flannels, and it's the only industry where being called a dirtbag is a compliment. I learned that. If you're a dirtbag climber, that is an absolute, one of the best compliments you could get. But I asked this question and I see a hand go up. And of course, I'm nervous what they're going to say. And the guy's like, craft beer. And I was like, that's a good point, because you can get drunk off Bud Light for very cheap. Or you can get a stout hoppy poppy pale ale, or I'm obviously not a craft beer guy, but you can get one of those, right? Still, you're going to get drunk off either one, but that feels much cooler. And that's much more Instagrammable, right? So people are willing to spend more money if they believe you're giving a better experience. Boost referrals. 83% of consumers will refer after a positive experience. Referral customers cost less to acquire because there's no marketing dollars. It's just being sent to you. And they usually spend 16% more with you. A couple other ones, customer retention. 68% of people cite a bad experience for leaving a business. It's not price. And by the way, it's not on here, but only 1 in 26 people will tell you when they had a bad experience, which is scary, right? Only 1 in 26 will tell you. 25 people leave because they were unsatisfied with some way they were treated or the experience they had. They never tell you. Only one person does. So that's a scary piece of data. Build stronger customer relationships. Obviously, the more time you spend creating a great experience and building relationships and good engagement and interaction, the better relationship you'll have. And then finally, a decrease in lawsuits. So if you build solid relationships and you're always creating a great experience, people are less likely to sue if something goes wrong. And there is some risk in the fitness industry, right? People are physical, they're moving, they're exercising. There's always a chance to get hurt. So when you build a better relationship, there's less chance that you'll get sued. And this was really evidenced in the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And basically it was doctors that got sued the most for malpractice weren't the ones that made the most mistakes. They were the ones that spent the least amount of time with their patients. So think about that. You could be a doctor who's super nice and you have good bedside manner, spend time with your patients, and you're less likely to get sued even if you make a ton of mistakes than a doctor who might be great, make less mistakes, but just doesn't have the good bedside manner. So I always like to show some data and research because it's easy to say, oh, experience is so important. But when you see the data, it backs that up and you know, wow, this really is something we should be focusing on. So great brands don't just happen. So we'll talk about a couple brands really quickly. The Ritz Carlton, for those that have stayed at a Ritz Carlton, is an incredible experience. And it's all built into their culture and their mission statement. Ritz Carlton is a place where genuine care and comfort of our guests is our highest mission. So right there in their mission statement, they're saying, this is our priority, is you. We pledge the finest personal services and all of those things, but they take care of you. When you go to the Ritz, it's always, Mr. Stevenson. When you stay frequently, they keep track of your behaviors. And if you like a certain newspaper, they know to give it to you proactively. If you like a certain type of coffee, they'll put it in your room. Everything is as personalized can be. And internally, they say, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. So they create this high-end experience. At the end of the day, it's just a hotel, right? It's just somewhere to stay. but you'll pay 70% more because you like the way you're treated and that you feel like a VIP. They have a specific thing called luxury language where they speak to you only in certain words to create a better experience. So it really is an incredible experience. Apple is another one. And with Apple, Steve Jobs said the best, you got to start with the customer experience and work back towards the tech. Now, I know we're talking about more of a service industry, but whether it's a product or service, if you start with what you think the customer experience should look like, then you're going to implement the service or the product in a way that's most useful to them. But everything about Apple is great. And if you ask people why Apple great, a lot of people that use Apple will say, because it's so easy. Well, if you're a PC user and you sit down at my Mac, you're going to want to throw it out the window. It's not easier. Just as a Mac user, you know how to use it, right? So it's not really easier. It's just people love Apple. They have strategic approaches to their packaging. No paper, clean. So it's like a presentation. It almost looks like a product is framed. It always opens right to left because a majority of people are right-handed. So it's a much more comfortable opening. When they design a laptop, the cooling fans in the laptop automatically shut off when there's any audio involved so that it doesn't interfere with the audio. For those that have an iPad with the iPen, it's weighted so that if it rolls, it goes face up where it says the name of the product on the top. So every single detail is examined by Apple to make it the best end user experience with their product. And I always thought this was interesting. Here's a typical remote, right? I mean, you look at all those buttons and I don't know that that's a great experience using that product, but look what Apple did. By the way, they've updated their remote a little bit since this one, but they've got basically 3 buttons and then kind of the little circle around there. And this does everything and more than the remote on the left. So which one's a better user experience? I don't know. I'm not a very technologically advanced guy. Maybe some of you are. But if it's the one on the left, I'd be getting my 12-year-old to go, would you show me how to turn this on? Show me how to switch this. But I can figure everything out on the right one. So it's a better user experience. So again, Apple, great company. Start with the experience and work backwards to whatever you're going to provide. And then finally, Southwest. And I will tell you, again, part of their mission statement is, we're going to take care of people. But one thing, if you've read their book, I think it's called Going Nuts by Herb Keller, who was the CEO, they talk about the importance of staffing and how if you take care of your staff will take care of your employees. It's that simple. So in that book, it's just a bunch of great ways to make staff involved. And what they do is at Southwest, they will cross-train staff. So if you're a flight attendant, you'll know a little bit about how to load the baggage, how to check somebody in, how to do customer service calls, and vice versa. So it creates more respect for other people in the organization that do different roles. So they do a great job with that. They're often employees are put into the stock options, and so they're built into the company. It's a very transparent company that shows where they're at financially and with numbers at all times. So Southwest really prioritizes staff because they know if they do that, they'll prioritize the customer. And that was evidenced in the story that I opened this presentation with. Now, the really interesting thing too is if you think about it on the technical part, Southwest is tough because if you don't check into your flight 24 hours before you take off, you're that awkward person walking down going, which 2 people do I want to sit in between, right? You're getting that awkward middle seat. That's not a good experience. Not having a reserved seat might not be a good experience, but they never claim that. They will say we'll be cost effective, we'll be on time, and that's exactly what they deliver. That's the experience that they promise, and they deliver it. And then they take immense care of their staff. Obviously, I could talk about all of these brands for hours and hours, but I just want to touch on a couple points of what they do well, and then take those brands and say, what do these brands have in common? Well, customer experience is in the culture. We see that in the mission statements and in the quotes from their leaders. They have a reliable product or service. Again, Apple, their stuff is so reliable. Now we're talking, many of us are delivering services. Services has to be reliable as well. And then they got an inspired and engaged team. So those are the tactical things that we'll cover coming up here. And by the way, this is a high level view of this. There's a lot more detail in everything we talk about, and we could spend hours in that. But I wanted to start in this first educational piece, kind of giving you the high level view, hoping that you leave with the understanding this is really important stuff. And here's some tactical things I can do with it. But there's a lot more that goes into it. But we talk about that first one. Experience is part of the culture. How do we infuse customer experience into our culture, right? How do we make it a part of our DNA as a company? How do we make sure that everybody on our team knows that this is what we stand for and this is what we deliver? Well, in our first club, the studio, it was unwritten. We just kind of did it, but it was a small enough staff that we could just play off each other and deliver that. Once we got to 60 people, we made it more formal and we put it in our mission, vision, values. So the vision at that company was empowering people to live healthier lives. And the entire staff knew that. That was our number one goal, no matter your role. The mission was at that club, everybody leaves feeling better than when they arrived, right? And we knew that if that happened, people come back. Therefore, we can empower them to live healthier lives. But you want to create that mission, vision, values if you haven't, and you want to wrap it around taking care of people, teams, staff, but make it about a great member experience. And if you already have those dialed in, you can create submissions. So maybe for your welcome desk area, which is what we call a front desk. I don't think you should define a role by where it's located, but what they do. So a welcome desk, maybe they have an internal mission statement about greeting people and creating a great experience, but you want to be part of your mission, vision, values. Always lead by example. Now, I can't see you, but I know you can see me. So really quickly, what I want you to do is put your right hand up, touch your finger and your thumb together, and stare through that circle that you've just created. Now, I want you to stare through that circle and slowly bring it towards your face. Closer, slower, closer, press hard. Now, when you get right next to your face, put it right here on your chin. Okay, the question I'm going to ask you, and obviously you can't answer, is did you put it on your cheek or your chin? Because I said chin, but I put it on my cheek. The bottom line being, I guarantee you, most of you put it on your cheek, and most of you were probably saying, he said chin, but I see what he's doing. I'm just going to do what he did, because people follow your leadership. So you can say your culture is to take care of people to your utmost ability, but if they don't see you do it, they won't do it. And the quickest way to destroy a culture is by saying it's one thing and then doing another. You must lead by example at all times. Hire and fire based on your culture. So the first interview, and by the way, I've done plenty of sessions and keynotes and workshops on building hiring practices. Well, but in a nutshell, hire for culture. I don't even ask any question based on role or technical skill. It's all about being culture-based. Make sure they're a fit, because you can train the rest. Same thing with fire. If you see somebody who's not behaving the way it's expected, get them off your team as quickly as possible. By the way, not only is that better for your team in general, the other team members are like, wow. As a quick example, we had a trainer who was really booked, but had a terrible attitude and wasn't living up to our mission, vision, values. Now, you know, it's tough to fire somebody who's generating a lot of revenue. But when we did, the other team was like, wow, that guy generated a ton of revenue and they still got rid of him. This culture really does mean something. So firing somebody based on culture really amplifies how important your culture is. Express gratitude and evaluate on culture. And that's when you're, as a leader, you're saying, hey, I saw the interaction you had with that member. Way to make sure they left feeling better than when they arrived. Always tie it back to your mission, vision, values, so that when you're thanking somebody, they realize, wow, you're thanking me and I appreciate that. And it is tied on what we stand for as a company. Same thing with evaluations. Too many evaluations are punctuality, appearance, on a scale of 1 to 5. How's your attitude, punctuality, appearance? If your attitude sucks and you're late and you don't look the part, then you're not going to work for me. Evaluate on culture. Figure out ways to draft those evaluations and say, okay, here's our mission statement. How did you adhere to that as we're doing this evaluation? And then finally, promote it. You want to promote your culture. So internally to your staff. But all of these are important because these help you create that customer-centric culture. So you can read here. And by the way, anybody who actually what I'll do is, I know I have a list of all of you who are attending. I'll send you the slide deck. So hopefully you're taking notes and that sort of thing, but don't worry about getting each slide. I will send you the deck in the next few days so that you have it, you could reference it. And once you get it, you'll have my contact info. You can reach out with any questions. I'm happy to answer and happy to help. But these are just different ways to go about promoting that culture. Promoting it to your customers. I said promote internally, but when you tell your customers, here's our vision, mission, and values, then your staff knows, wow, that's what our customers are going to expect. So it helps cement it. And then you put it up in the office and on postcards, cheat sheets, quiz your team on tell me the 5 core values of our company. All of these things help really promote that culture. Okay, so that's the first piece. And that's, you have to have a customer-centric culture, right? Because that's the DNA of your organization. Once that part is cemented in, now we need that simple and reliable product or service that meets customer needs. Okay. Well, how do we know what our customers want? So going back to Apple, they're more product oriented, although they have some service aspects of their job, so they spend a lot of time working backwards and surveying and asking questions and figuring out if it works. So with us, it's a little different. It might be you have a studio with classes. Well, can a person easily book a class, pay for a class, show up and get that class? Is the class taught well, right? All of those things matter. If you have a club with equipment, it might be one of those situations where, does the equipment work or is it broken down too much? Can people get on the equipment or is there a line for it? You're looking at all these interaction pieces. That's what we got to figure out. So how do we know? Well, first, we do customer journey mapping. And then second, we want customer feedback. So what that looks like is, this is a typical customer journey map, but a customer journey goes from the minute somebody interacts with your business all the way to hopefully they're a raving fan that refers you people, and every step in between. So what you want to do is you want to map out what a customer goes through, the advertising that you're doing. Does it reflect your brand the way it should? And then I'll use the middle example. Once they've heard about you in a bunch of different ways, now they're thinking about doing business with you. We get to this, now they want to make a purchase. So the things that go into making a great experience in the touch points of a customer journey are great human interaction, and then ease of purchase and all of that thing. So when you go to sell a membership or sell your service, is it easy to buy, pay for, cancel if they want to? Are all those parts easy to book? RhinoFit does a great job of that, providing a service that handles that digital piece, right? And that has to be there, right? They handle that. And then how are your sales skills, your interactions, your follow-ups, your checking in on members, right? That's that perfect combination of you providing a great human touch, a company like RhinoFit providing this incredible digital solution that makes things so much easier for the customer. And I will tell you one thing the pandemic taught us is the easier something is to do, the more likely we are to do it. Like when Amazon looks at the customer journey, they're like, how can we get you to spend more money? We'll let you buy with one click. We'll let you store your card on file. We'll recommend other things. We'll let you set up reoccurring purchases so you keep purchasing without even thinking about it. So again, digital solutions and human touch at every touch point that it's appropriate for during the customer journey creates a great member experience. So that's something you want to take time and you want to look at your touch points and how can you make them better. Again, with the delivery, is it easy for somebody to get into your facility, to get set up for a class, to execute the class, to get out all of those things, from the digital aspect, from the bookings and all of that, to the, is the class taught well? Is the instructor trained well? Or is a personal trainer doing a great job? So that's the customer journey. And then the second part is you design the customer journey based on research and demographics, trends and all of that. And then once you have the journey in place, you're going to reach out with customer feedback. So a couple methods for getting feedback. NPS. So that was what I talked about earlier. It's a 1-question survey. It's so short, people are generally willing to do it. And you can send that out at intervals that you feel appropriate. What we did at our last facility and what I've recommended for facilities we're working with now, you send it 21 days after joining and then quarterly. So they're getting hit with it frequently enough. And by the way, surveys not only provide you with valuable data to create a better experience because you're hearing the information from the people you're serving, it also lets customers know that we care about what you think. So that's an added bonus. Then general surveys, if you want to get specific information, you can survey about a particular program, or you could survey about the facility itself, or anything you're looking for particular information on. Engagement, so this is you or your staff training them on how to take suggestions properly, complaints properly, how to engage with members, how to get out on the floor and say, how was your experience today? Right? So searching out feedback just in a very face-to-face personal way. And then you can do things like member advisory boards or focus groups. Take, 5 members that are diverse and say, hey, I want to buy you guys lunch. Come in and I want you to ask some questions. I did a full presentation on focus groups and creating member advisory boards. So, you have to figure out the details, but overall get a group of people, ask them questions, get feedback, right? Because oftentimes, and I've written articles on this called feel versus real, we feel like something's a good idea, but real is we've done the research, we've gotten the feedback, we've gotten the data, and now we know what the numbers say. So that quantifies it. Now we can make better decisions. But again, looking at the entire customer journey and then looking at feedback from your members, that helps you continually evolve and create an incredible experience for people. So finally, that third piece that I said we would talk about is an inspired and engaged team. Well, how do we create this team? Well, we do it with consistent training. Now, I will kind of call a timeout really quickly. You have to hire the right people. Now, you've heard this: hire slow and fire fast, and there couldn't be better advice out there in that regards. So we're not really going to talk about the hiring process. Again, I've done presentations where that's all we focus on is hiring the right people. And that's something that evolved. When I opened my first company, it was 50-50. And then I got better at it, figured out how to ask questions, how to interview better, how to onboard better, and all those things to create better team members. So I evolved into the point where the last club that we just owned and operated, we were about 90% on hires. We rarely made a mistake. And the one thing I'll tell you, just imparting on the hiring piece, because that's not part of today's topic, go with this mantra. It's either a hell yeah or a hell no. So when you interview somebody, it's got to be somebody you're like, hell yeah, I want this person on my team. How many times have you hired somebody, and I've done it, guilty. I'm like, they're pretty good. I think, we'll be able to make this work out. It never works out. It's a hell yeah or a hell no. And if you don't like the use of the word hell, a yes is a yes, a no is a no, and a maybe is a no. but that's just one bit on hiring. But consistent training. And the first thing you want to explain to your staff are the levels of customer service. And if you're a solopreneur on this call, this is great information for you. But there's a basic level of customer service. So let's equate it to checking into a facility. Basic is you got in, right? Basic means your needs were met. Well, what's expected? Well, somebody probably expects somebody to be there checking you in, right? So hopefully you can get to the expected level where there's a body there. And then desired, they probably want that body who's there to actually interact with them a little bit, right? At least say, welcome, have a great workout, and probably be smiling with good body language. And then there's surprising. This might be that desired level, but they actually use your name, right? And they engage you in a small conversation on your way in. So that was something that you're like, wow, I desired this, but that actually surprised me a little bit. And that creates a great experience. Then, of course, by the way, there's unbelievable. And this might be people have memorized your name without looking. They remember conversations. They ask you, hey, how was your daughter's soccer game this weekend? Or they know that when you come in, you like the little shelf for the elliptical so you can read your book. So they just have that waiting for you, or that you always purchase a water and a water's waiting. So unbelievable could be anticipating needs, remembering you, having built a real relationship. Then, of course, there's criminal. And unfortunately, we do see that in an industry, which is, bad billing policies or really dirty facilities, or just those are the unprofessional things, and the criminal level of service never lasts. But one thing to note on this, and then we'll go into some best practices, is unbelievable becomes expected. So I will tell you that I've flown a lot recently, and every flight I've had, I got upgraded to either Comfort Plus or first class on Delta. Well, I'm flying tomorrow, and I didn't get upgraded for the first time and I had that moment where I'm like, that's horrible. Why are they so bad? I'm like, whoa. I have to remind myself that it was a bonus that they upgraded me, right? But I had that moment where I was like mad at Delta for a second, and Delta's been great to me as an airline, but I had to have that moment. But so knowing that it becomes expected, that means every team member you have, including yourself, has to deliver at an unbelievable level all the time. And gyms and clubs and studios are those rare businesses where people come multiple times a week. So we have the opportunity to screw up a relationship multiple times. Your hairstylist can only screw it up once a month or so. Restaurants, you might go to once a month or whatever, but we can screw it up 3-4 times a week. So we have to always focus on unbelievable. And we always have to recreate things to create an unbelievable experience. So we're always figuring, how can we take this to the next level? And by the way, this is fun. When you do these things with your staff, it's a great job to surprise and delight people at all times, create unbelievable experiences. So it's important to know this level of customer service. So then I talked about training, and part of that is when you onboard somebody, when they first start with you, right? You're going to take them through a training process that includes a lot of customer experience, no matter what their role is. And then ongoing leadership and training to reinforce skills. So training never stops. And by the way, team members are more engaged when they feel like they're getting better for doing this job and they're improving their own personal skills. So I just wanted to share, as we kind of come towards the end, some specific member experience strategies that we always train people on when we do workshops, clubs that we own and operate, and clubs that we consult with. And the first is the world stops. And again, this is the difference between polite and nice and really being in an attitude of service that creates a great experience. The world stops means when a member is present, all your attention goes onto them. I can equate it to one of the clubs that we were working with, very friendly atmosphere, but somebody would be working out front and somebody would walk in and they would get the, hey, John, great to see you. Have a good workout. Back to their work. That's okay. But what's better is this stops. All the focus goes here and says, welcome, John. How are you today? What are you doing? You taking a class today? Awesome. Have a great experience. If you need anything, please let us know. So the world stops. Places like the Ritz have rules that if somebody, and I can't remember specifically, but if somebody's 10 feet away from you, they get a smile and an acknowledgement. If they're within 5 feet, they get some sort of greeting. So they actually have words. You're not allowed to walk by anybody without having an appropriate interaction. But again, the world stops for that person. It's not just polite, smiley, friendly. Whatever you're doing, drop it and focus. You can imagine just even on this virtual webinar, but I would always coach people. I'm like, world stops, world stops. I would see someone approach and be like, all right, guys, all right, shape it up. World stops, world stops. But we'd all prepare. I guess that's my Power Ranger pose, right? The world stops, but it's important. Members come first. Show them how important they are, because without them, you don't have a business. Warm welcomes and fond farewells. When somebody comes to your facility, the greeting is super important. It reinforces that coming in was a great decision. So that's eye contact, a smile, the use of their name, some small talk. And then fond farewell is your opportunity to make them want to come back. So the one thing you want to say when somebody leaves your facility is, the first thing is, how was your experience today? And what that does is allows them to give you feedback in the moment. It also engages. Earlier I said only 1 in 26 will tell you. This helps get more people to tell you, because if they say, it wasn't great, then you can address that right away, save a membership, learn and improve the experience. Or they might say, oh, it was awesome. Say, that's great to hear. Follow that up with, when are we going to see you again? And get them to engage on the way out and commit to returning. So again, warm welcomes are confirming that you coming in today was a great decision and you're going to have a great time. Fond farewell is, great job today. We're checking to make sure you had a good time and we expect you to come back. Those are important tactics. Names 100% of the time. Names personalize an experience. There is no word someone likes to hear more than their name. So make sure that you, train your staff to use names. An acronym that I love is called FACE, and that's focus, ask, connect, and execute. So when you're learning names, it's just a great way to remember. Actually pay attention. When you introduce yourself, hi, I'm Chris. What was your name? Oh, Mary. Nice to meet you. I'm focused. I asked for her name. That's the FA of FACE. Connect. I'm like, Mary. She reminds me of my Aunt Mary. So you make that, whatever connection works for you, make it in your head, and then execute at the end. Oh, Mary, it was so great talking with you. Right. And by the way, if you make a weird connection, don't say the connections out loud. Keep that in your head. It's just a way to remind yourself of the name. So focus on it, ask their name, connect it to something that will help you remember it, and then execute. Use it again before the conversation's over. But again, names personalize an experience. Body language is huge. I will tell you that this is a book that I highly recommend. It was an FBI agent's guide to speed reading people. But a lot of body language is subconscious, and we have to be aware of that. And with the body language, sorry, the dog just burst into the room. But back to the dog has great body language. But body language is huge. And again, a lot of it is subconscious. So when you read this book, and I always recommend giving articles to your team that they can read and process so they understand exactly how important body language is. But no one will ever leave your facility going, I just love that person's posture that I interacted with. They'll just feel, for whatever reason, that person felt more engaged and I had a great experience. I felt like they cared. And imagine simple body language, like if you're leaning and all of a sudden a member sees some dirt on the floor. And we always said, hey, if you're leaning, you ain't cleaning. But what that appears to be, and it might not be the case at all, is you don't care. You're just leaning over and there's some dirt on the floor. So again, body language is a lot of it's subconscious, but when you understand body language, you're able to deliver better and create a better experience. Again, we do a whole session on body language. Luxury language. We stole this from the Ritz Carlton. Words matter. It's not thanks. It's thank you. It's not sorry. It's I apologize. It's not, no problem. Because why would there be a problem? It's my pleasure, right? Or you're very welcome. And again, similar to body language, it's not, let me close this door. Just like body language, no one will ever leave your facility or interaction with you or one of your team going, I love the words they chose when they interacted with me, right? They will just know that just felt great. I felt special. I felt important. So again, you'll see we have these lists that we use. And again, I'll send you the deck so you'll have this list as well. Some is just in general. Some of these, it's not a gym, it's a club, because not everybody is a gym person, but everybody wants to be part of a club. We never say that's our policy. We explain the why. This is why this is the way it is, right? It's not a deal, it's a value, all those things. There's specific stuff to our industry as well as general luxury language. And then finally, policy enforcement. Again, there's a million member experience strategies to teach. I just wanted to share some that I felt were really relevant and important. But policy enforcement. No one enforces policy because they hate it. And we're in a world of a lot of policy to be enforced now. But when you train your staff on the steps to policy enforcement, they'll do a better job. So it's not you walking up going, you have to put your mask on. Okay, no one wants to do that. And by the way, when was the last time you heard the word policy and we're like, oh, sweet, I love policy? Never. But the steps that we give are you approach someone and you introduce your name and your role, because it personalizes it and it shows that you have authority. Hey, my name's Chris and I work the welcome desk. What was your name? Nice to meet you, Phil. Hey, and then you let them off the hook. You say, I'm sure you had no idea, but we do require you to wear a mask. Right? So you're going to say, let them off the hook. Don't make it contentious. We do require you to wear a mask while you're inside the facility. And then from there, you give the reason and you say, because we're doing our part. It's not only a requirement, but our part to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And then from there, you want to give options if possible. But if you want to work out in our outdoor area, we don't require masks outside. So if that's more comfortable, feel free to do that. And then at the end is, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. right? So you're going to give them steps, and that makes it a better experience, even when doing something negative, like enforcing a policy. Again, when you do that with your team, they're more likely to actually enforce that policy. And then last but not least, surprise and delight. Give your staff the opportunity, and you yourself, here's our new recruits at BMF. We posted that. Congrats, Amy, on 25 sessions. Send postcards, cake pops, write birthdays on a mirror, buy onesies for everybody who has a baby in your community, but find ways to surprise and delight. Okay, because in addition to all those ongoing member experience strategies, when you can surprise and delight, you create that home run experience. So again, it's about the culture. It's got to be part of your DNA that you are going to provide a superior experience, and your entire team has to be bought in and understand that. Then you got to do everything you can through looking at the customer journey and getting member feedback to make sure you are providing the experience people are looking for with your services and your products. And then finally, you got to train, you hire the right people, but then you got to train on all those member experience strategies and find ways to surprise and delight so that there's always an unbelievable customer experience. So I'll wrap up with this. And after this, I have to log off. I'm logging on to another webinar. But again, you'll have my contact info. I will send everybody on the list the slide deck, and I appreciate y'all being here. But this was great. So on Mother's Day, we went to this place called the Lazy Dog. And Lazy Dog is just one of several restaurants in the mall. So it's just a mall restaurant, nothing really special about it. But we had great grandma, we had grandma, we had mom, and everybody went there for brunch. So I take my boys to the bathroom. So you got to wash your hands. As many parents know, boys are dirty. So you got to wash your hands before we eat. So we go to the bathroom, and they see this on the counter. Forgot to grab our Mother's Day card? No worries. We got your back. Pens, envelopes, dear mom, I love you cards. So of course the boys made cards for everybody. And for the record, I didn't screw up Mother's Day. I had gotten gifts and cards for everybody. So I did not drop the ball, but they still had a blast doing this, right? And because of that endeared, just like Southwest was endeared to my younger son. Now when we go there, my boys just want to go to Lazy Dog because they remember that cool, fun experience that they got to make mom, grandma, and great grandma very happy. And I do too. Because if I'm going to choose between basically similar food, similar prices, similar restaurants in the similar area, I'm going to go to the one that did best by me. So again, finding ways to surprise and delight is an incredible way to create a great experience. I hope you enjoyed today. By the way, on an anecdotal note, this was for Mother's Day in May. Guess what they did for Father's Day in June? Nothing, because a mom would never mess this up. So this would be so unrealistic that nobody would ever do it. So thank you again for being here. Here's my contact information. Reach out, connect. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'm completely happy to help. I know it was a lot of material in a short period of time, but hopefully you got some good takeaways. And again, I will send all the slides in the next few days or so. And so thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you to RhinoFit for, again, not only providing a great product and service, but also being interested in providing great education for its clients and other people that are interested in working with RhinoFit. It's really cool of you guys to do that as a company. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, and make sure that you keep in touch.